Good morning, everybody, if you're watching, and welcome. I'm here with Katie this morning. I'm going to introduce you to Katie, who's one of our wonderful alumni who's been training with us as a coach. And I'll hand over to Katie to introduce herself. We wanted to bring something you would have seen yesterday, Joe and Miriam, if you tuned in, who were also alumni of ours, to bring in a different angle of people who are part of this coaching world and the journey that they've been on, and how obviously the podcast might have been helpful all those years ago at the start of the journey of thinking about training to be a coach. So morning, Katie.
Morning.
Do you want to tell everyone kind of who you are, what you do, and how you came in our world?
I am Katie. I've got a long career of working in PR and communications for big organisations and startups. I tend to work in the not-for-profit sector. Throughout my career, I've been the person that people come up to and go, "Can I just have a coffee with you? I've got something going on." And then we talk, and then they're very grateful for that conversation. And then they'd go and tell someone else to go and talk to me. So I was like, okay, if I'm really brutally honest, I was like, how am I going to get paid for this? And that took me to coaching. I mean, I say that as a kind of joke, but I also have had 3 experiences of being coached and have found it hugely helpful at different points in my life. And the last time I was coached, I was actually a guinea pig for someone who was training. So I also got to experience her as a coach in training. So I'm a big fan of coaching. What I really wanted to do was be very qualified as a coach, because I think, a bit like PR, it's an industry that's got a reputational issue with people thinking it's full of sort of cowboys and fluffy people, and there's no substance to it. Hence, finding you people.
Fab. And when you were casting your mind back, when you were starting out, thinking about training to be a coach, do you remember what sorts of questions you had as you were kind of ready to embark on exploring this a bit further?
I wanted to be as qualified as I could be. A lot of, I wanted to be able to justify my saying I was a coach with a really good, strong piece of paper. I was drawn towards you and Joe because I like to work with another business that was 2 female founders, and you're small. I was really put off by pictures of people learning to coach in what looked like meeting rooms at the bottom of a travel lodge off the side of a motorway. Like that, I can't learn in that environment. I need to build relationships. I need warmth. I need to feel safe. I don't like strip lighting in mid-level hotels. So there was that. I also spoke to one of your ex-coaches, coaching.
Yeah, one of our alumni.
Yeah. She scared me to death. She said, "Right, yeah, you'll learn to be a coach," but she said, "Do not underestimate how much this can upend your life." So I've been waiting for the drama, but I think with me the change is more subtle and deeper rather than visible. And there's not a box of fireworks going off. There's a warmer glow inside.
Yeah. And that's one of the things we mentioned a little bit on the podcast later on in episodes, that the journey of training to be a coach is so much more than just learning the skills to coach, because everybody comes in with raw skills. Like you said, you already had these skills where people were coming to you and talking to you. So no one is starting from scratch. It's how you almost become aware of what you're doing so you can amplify it and make it better and find other ways to use it, and to use it consciously and purposefully. So that's what we kind of talk a little bit more about, and also just how powerful the personal side is. Yes, it can, create reverberations through your life. I mean, Jo, when she was studying, left her career and set up as an independent coach, in business with me, and we've had like a lot of people do the same. Once they're studying, they have a goal that's maybe 5 years out, but then that goal kind of comes closer So, and you're now using coaching, aren't you? You know, you're taking clients on, and how's that going?
I think what you've just said about your goals coming closer more quickly is true for me, because I had, you know, quite a sense of, right, I'll train, I'll get qualified, and then I'll edge into it. But actually what's happened is it's so fundamental now to what I do. I'm just doing it all the time. In any meeting, I'll be like, how do we approach this as a coaching meeting? And that's a big shift for me, because I used to think I had to know everything. Turns out I just need to know some really good questions. So that is liberating. But clients that I've worked with in my PR and communications work have become coaching clients, or they've referred me. So I've already got paid coaching clients. Yeah. And I've actually got a juggle and a decision to make about how I'm going to spend my time, because currently I've got a bit too much going on.
Which is a nice problem to have, because it gives you some options, doesn't it, around where you choose to spend your time and what brings you the most joy. So I don't know if you've listened to the podcast this week. We've got episodes out there on difference between coaching and mentoring, how to choose a coaching training provider. That's today's. We've got questions around what does it take to train as a coach. What do you think would have been helpful for you when you were starting out? What would have you liked to have heard that would have been kind of reassuring or helped you to hop on the course with confidence?
So I listen to a lot of podcasts. I'm a massive fan of them, because I think there's an intimacy with podcasts and radio, but podcasts, and an accessibility. So if you'd had them when I was training and thinking, I think it would have really helped me to sort of understand your style, your personalities a bit more. And I actually think build trust really quite quickly. Because I do think with listening on podcasts, I at least get quite a good sense of a person. And I would like that. I think what you can do in a podcast format, because it's like long form, you can really get into what I think are the grey areas of life and really explain them. And you can't do that in the written word. You can't do it in a press advert or a newspaper article, but you can really go into the subtleties and layers of things. And I think that's why podcasts and coaching, I think, are really good bedfellows.
We've really enjoyed recording them. I mean, Joe and I chat for hours anyway, so it's sort of like just pressing record.
Yeah.
And then sending it out into the world. And I think you do get like the kind of raw, unscripted kind of discussions. And I think we've had feedback this week that it draws people in. It's sort of like sitting in a sitting room with you, kind of having a conversation and sitting down and kind of watching things unfold. And that's kind of just who we are and how we work, and very much replicates the experience you'd get kind of on the program. And you obviously came on the program in COVID times, didn't you? So we used to train in not strip light rooms. We used to have nice kind of seaside kind of locations to be able to train in. But then we moved all of that online, and I think you were maybe one of the first people to experience the online program. How was
because when I signed up, I think there was some draw to some quite fancy hotel somewhere near Bristol, which sounded lovely. But I was feeling a bit guilty, like justifying it, because I've funded myself to be a coach. I wasn't writing this off as a work expense. So we shifted online. So we met every Tuesday for, I think, really for almost half a year.
It was about 8 months. Yeah,
8 months
into the supervision, so it's another few months.
Yeah, and we were in the deepest, darkest throes of the pandemic and all that fear. And for me, it was an absolute highlight of my week, because there was a lot of negative energy in the world, and this felt very, very positive, and everyone was trying hard and laying their souls out for everyone to see. And that built a great community. And I was in a little triad with 2 people who I would never meet otherwise. And we still meet up and chat and absolutely rip the piss out of each other. And they tease me mercilessly for being I can't remember what, anyway, for being overly conscientious. And it's really good. It's really healthy. So I was a bit suspicious of what a Zoom relationship could be like, but it's been fine. And subsequently, I'm now doing most of my coaching online.
Yeah.
And that's actually just being brutal about it. That's a really efficient way to spend time and run a business. And I'm all about, I need to be efficient. I've got 2 children at home, too many animals. I don't have spare time, really. So
well,
this is
and I
good.
think it's efficient for clients as well, because
true.
you know they get to fit it into their day when it works for them. Yeah. And it's funny what you were saying around kind of Zoom relationships. I actually forget that we've never met in real life.
Yeah.
You know, like, and same for many of the delegates, like the relationships are so well formed and so deep. I actually forget. I've actually never seen you. I've no idea how tall you are.
No, but I think
this part of you for like a year.
I think I'm actually a person who finds it easier to build a rapport in this forum than face to face.
Yeah.
But so actually, I've done my first face to face coaching meeting, and it was a completely different ballgame.
How was it? Interesting.
Well, we had someone's. She was late. I was early. I didn't like where we were sitting. It was a horrible hotel. I was just like, I can't work in this environment.
Too many uncontrollable factors.
Yeah, slightly controlling. Yeah, anyway.
Yeah, I enjoy face-to-face coaching. I don't do much of it anymore. Like you said, for convenience. Also, the world has like vastly changed. And as much as I can replicate the experience definitely on Zoom, I still enjoy that being in physical like contact or proximity with people. So I don't know when I'll do that again, but I do see still doing an element of face-to-face, one-to-one in the future, but not the coaching programs are working so well online, that's where they'll stay. So yeah. So what's next for you, Katie? What have you got your eye on?
I just for people who are considering doing a ILM level 7, you have to do all these practice hours, and I have to document them, and then I have to present them to essentially be marked. And I've discovered I don't really like that part of the process. I don't like putting myself forward to be judged. That's a pretty decent milestone for me to get over, which I'm hoping I'll be able to do that early next year. So that'll be my movement towards my qualification.
Great.
I've also got a long work history of media training with people. And actually I saw it years ago, but there's a gap between technical skills training for people who are presenting or doing media interviews, but actually it's confidence or fear or what, some baggage they're bringing that means the technical learning is actually falling on deaf ears.
Yeah.
And I've, if you don't think you deserve to be on that platform, you're not going to be able to listen to someone telling you where their eye line should be. Yeah. So I'm investigating that spot as a place where I can specialise.
Yeah, visibility coaching. I had one of my coaches on earlier in the week who I did some work with around visibility, more so because my business was growing, I was becoming more visible. And actually there was resistance there. And I was like, I want to remove this resistance so it's just faster. And I'm able to show up more authentically in places that I want to. There is absolutely no way, if I hadn't had kind of experience and coaching, that we'd have this podcast, that we'd be going live across kind of multiple channels for the whole yeek. I was saying yesterday or the day before, I've never been as visible in my whole life, and this would have terrified me once upon a time. Whereas now it's actually quite natural and quite comfortable. I don't mind who's watching and who's not watching. That's the other part, isn't it? When you put yourself out there, you open yourself up to rejection, I think, is what it really feels like. And I think everybody can experience a little bit of that as they step out and get more and more visible. So for those who are in coaching, who want to have successful coaching businesses, there's definitely space for people to be able to coach around, that building of confidence and self-acceptance, to be able to just show up as you are wherever you might want to in order to get your message out to the world. So Exciting.
Yeah.
Well, look, thanks for being here today. For those of you watching, if you haven't listened to the podcast, please do. There's a new episode out today, and there's another one out tomorrow and Friday and throughout next week. Actually, we've got a couple more coming out next week, so please continue to listen. Today's the last day for our competition, where you can win a paddleboard, because that's what Joe and I like to do. You can win a coaching qualification, or you can win an afternoon tea, because let's face it, we all like a bit of cake every now and again. So seems like a good prize. So do listen in, and if you can, rate and review. And yeah, thank you for your support. And thank you, Katie, for joining me this morning.
Bye. Thanks.
You're welcome.